Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. It's two players that are on my mind right now that I think their teams should consider trading them because they hold a lot of value, but maybe not uh, what the team needs. Um, it's kind of hard to say. Once you hear the names, you're going to be like, what? But that's didn't come out the right way. It's not that they're not what the team needs. It's just that with the value that they hold, you would think that you would get more production from those players for these specific franchises. If you take those players in their contract and put them in other situations that better fit them or that are better places just to play, I think that these two players can really help winning teams, particularly. I'm not really certain of where I would send either one of these two players. Maybe I'll get into that in this video if I come up with these ideas, but more so just wanted to identify the players and the situations. The first player that comes to mind is Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, I have to admit this is not an independent idea. I got this idea from watching a podcast. The guys were talking about that. They brought it to my attention. I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe this should be something I think about and talk about as well. So that's what this is here, just piggybacking somebody else's stuff. But nevertheless, I'll never lie about it. I think topics are worth stealing from one another once in a while, particularly when you are looking for different people's opinions. So here's my opinion in regards to that. Karl-Anthony Towns is a fantastic star player with superstar value. When he's on the floor and he's good, he's a top 10 player in the league. I'm not in love with how he moves physically on the floor. I don't think he runs the floor as well as some other centers in this era, but he stretches the floor better than most of them. He can shoot the ball. He can do a lot of good things for you. He does get pushed around a little more than you want him to, and he has been I don't want to throw the word out there, but he has been given a soft kind of reputation over time based on that whole situation with Jimmy Butler calling out guys when he played for Minnesota and just seeing how they've consistently been a very bad team. Now, that's not all Karl's fault, of course. It's more so about their organization and how they've run things for a very long time. In my opinion, the Timberwolves have literally never recovered from not drafting Steph Curry, and they never fully recovered from the Joe Smith debacle where they ended up losing picks and just getting disgraced, and a lot of stuff happened that I don't think they've ever recovered from. Honestly, they never recovered from those two things. They don't particularly draft well. They don't particularly do great trades, but as of late, I think they have made some good trades. I want to make that very clear. I think they've made some pretty good things lately. Malik Beasley is a player who's come along, who's developed well in their system over the last year and a half since he's been there. D'Angelo Russell is an all-star player. Hasn't had a chance to really show that with their team, but it's because he's in and out of the lineup and doesn't really fit as well as one would think with his skill set. They just don't fit as well. They've had coaching issues. Thibodeau's in there, that kind of thing. They let go of him. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they got Flip Saunders' son in there. Rest in peace to the great Flip Saunders. Man, that was a rough one, losing him a couple years back. They got some stuff on that team that you like. Of course, they drafted some guys, Jarrett Culver. It's taking a little time for him to really come into his own from a consistent standpoint, but he shows glimpses here and there. He's going to turn into something. It's just going to take some time. And he's a non-shooter, so it's harder to watch non-shooters develop, to be completely honest with you. But I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be a guy in this league for sure. Just give it about 3 or 4 years. Let him round into form. That's somebody you can definitely pencil in as somebody who's going to help some teams going forward. Where he values, I don't know. But I know he can help you. I know that. I have no doubt about that. Anthony Edwards is starting to pick it up. Started his career slow. His rookie season has not been all stellar. But over the last 2-3 weeks, he's really starting to put it on from the scoring standpoint. So he's been raising eyebrows in a positive light. And I hope that he's able to put on for himself, because I think that right now, very serious draft class, and he was the first picked in the draft. So I'd like to see him round out the end of his rookie season in a positive way, because he's going to be compared to a lot of really solid guys that were drafted this year. So overall, the Timberwolves have some pieces. I just don't know that collectively they fit. Their bench is not very strong. They got a guy by the name of Jared Vanderbilt that I like a lot. Made a video mentioning him, talked about how he can fill up the box score. Nas Reed is another guy I like a whole lot. You give him big boy minutes, he'll give you big boy production. That's a real center in this league. He just needs his opportunities, and with Carl down, he's getting them. So they have guys on that team. It's not like Minnesota is just devoid of all talent. But they're reliant upon Karl Anthony Towns to be a superstar. And even when he is a superstar, it doesn't necessarily translate to wins for whatever reason. I know that he has a strong relationship with the community there. They've been there for him through extremely dark times. We know what he's gone through. And I just think the change of scenery would be a good thing for him. To be in a winning situation would be a great thing for him. And I think he may have picked up some bad habits just playing for a bad organization. Like a lot of kids do when they come into an organization that pays them money and, gives them the keys to the car, but they don't necessarily learn certain intangibles that'll make them be a leader, a championship caliber leader, for which Karl Anthony Towns' value is. That's the problem. He's valued like a Giannis, like a LeBron, like a KD, like AD, like Jokic, and then players of that caliber. When he's on the floor, he lives up to it. Most of the time, he's not on the floor. That's what it really comes down to. You got a guy with value that high, and he's not reliable enough to keep you down there, to stay down there, and keep you at least in the playoff hunt. I mean, even De'Aaron Fox got the Sacramento Kings in the playoff hunt, bro. Karl Anthony Towns, 7 feet tall, could stretch the floor and do just about everything, block all kinds of shots, rebound all kinds of ways. But the team is trash all the time. Trade him. Trade him for his sake. So he doesn't have to be the next Kevin Garnett. You know what I mean? So he doesn't have to be the next Bradley Beal. Get him the hell out of there. Don't even let it get to that point. He's not going to come to the conclusion that it's time to leave until probably a couple years from now, unfortunately, it seems. It just seems like he's happy, he's cool, he's pulling a Bradley Beal. I'm comfortable, I don't want change necessarily, I don't want to move on from this fan base and all that loyalty crap that doesn't serve anybody at all in the NBA. In this league, it does not serve you to be loyal. People appreciate it. As a Laker fan, I appreciated Kobe's loyalty, but he left some rings on the table staying with his team. We know that. You'd be a damn fool to believe otherwise. And I think Karl Anthony Towns, if he spends too much more time in Minnesota, his championship window as a leading guy is going to slam on him very, very quickly, especially if these injuries continue to pile up. So I think Minnesota would be wise to get the value for him that he deserves, just in case something goes wrong and his value comes down. You can retain that value before anything like that happens. He doesn't have to test free agency unless you got a commitment from him that he's going to resign, which I don't think would be a good decision on his part, to be honest with you. And the team is struggling. They're going to continue to struggle. And that's that. So I think with him being the first guy on the list, I think I've said everything that needs to be said. I just do not think that's the best place for him. I don't think that he'll stay there, and I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves can get one of the biggest hauls we've ever seen for him in a trade. So that's what I have to say about that. Second guy on the list is Lauri Markkanen of the Chicago Bulls. Lauri Markkanen is a sniper, power forward, stretch four. You know what I mean? Your quintessential stretch four. He can do a little more than that, though. He has all-star upside, in my opinion. I think he's already shown us that he's an all-star caliber player. The problem is can he stay on the floor, too? Just like Karl. Can he stay on the floor? Now, he's not valued like Karl. These are not players of the same tier, so if you don't know basketball, I want to make that very clear. These are not guys that are neck and neck to one another. Absolutely not. But I do think Markkanen is a future all-star in this league. And like I said, he holds a lot of value because of what he brings to the table, which is a pure three-point shooter who can do a little more than that, and can do a lot of it. This is somebody, if you get him in shape, like actual shape, and you put him on a roster that really fits what he does, this is somebody I think can drop 40 on your head, all from behind the three-point line. Like, he's a true marksman, and he just hasn't had a chance to show it. Chicago was always, to me, an unorthodox fit for him. When he was drafted there, I said, now that's a guy that's going to a place that doesn't fit who he is. Nothing about the Chicago Bulls says 3-point shooting, stretching the floor, spacing, and all that. Nothing about them up until that point has said that. And even since how they've built their team, the stretch 4 is not necessarily what would be best for them at that value. And I can think of just about every team in the league could use Lauri Markkanen, except for the Bulls, in my opinion. The Bulls have a lot of power forwards right now. You got Patrick Williams, who can play some 3-4. You got Thaddeus Young, who I haven't looked at his past numbers, but it looks as if he's having a career year right up under our noses. Part of that has to do with Lauri Markkanen missing so much time. But he's balling out of control. He's playing some of the best ball I've ever heard of him playing right now. So you talk about him. Otto Porter is now playing power forward a lot for them. So you could see that this is a power forward type team. I think there's a guy by the name of Hutchinson or something like that. I know he plays the center position. I'm sure he could play some 4. You got Wendell Carter Jr., who's hurt right now. He's a center. Could also probably play some 4 a little bit if you wanted him to. They just have a lot of players that slip right into that 4 spot. So that renders Lauri Markkanen even less valuable on a team like this because he only plays the 4. He could play some stretch 5, but that's not his game. He's too big and not quite quick enough and agile enough to play the 3. So he's stuck at the 4 spot. So as to where those other guys, you could push them in 4 different positions, some of them. He's not one of those guys. So for me, it's just like, okay, Chicago, you need a point guard. You need Alonzo Ball. You need DeJounte Murray. You need Kyle Lowry. Any point guards you can think of in this league, they need. Because quite frankly, as good of a player as Coby White is, I think it's safe to say that he's not a point guard. They got a guy like Satoransky. He can do some things for you. He can fill up the box score, but you can find him 7, 8 different times around the league. You can find a lot of Satoranskys. They got guys on that bench that help them, things like that. But at the end of the day, that's just a bad basketball team. Although I hear that their defense has gotten significantly better, and I think it's because of some of those names that I've already mentioned, particularly Patrick Williams, who I think is a defensive player. So the future is bright for Chicago. It's not like they don't have a bright future, but I don't think Lauri Markkanen is a part of it. I do think they can get a nice return for him, at least a first-round pick and a player. And if he finds himself in the right spot, like I said, he can go. He's not just a one-trick pony. He could really help you in some other areas, but definitely be consistent from behind the 3-point arc and the free throw line for sure. So, when you have a shooter almost 7 feet, probably anywhere between 6'9" and 7 feet, not quite certain, but he's in that range somewhere. He's definitely valuable in this league. So many teams he would fit on. So many. Just not Chicago. So, yeah, that's what I got to say, man. If you're a fan of the Timberwolves or the Bulls, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but you can't deny that you guys can get a major haul for both of those players, respectively. Especially Carl, my God. The 5 first-round picks, 3 swaps, 4 players. Like, you can get a lot for Carl. So I think those GMs should be thinking about that. I think those GMs should be considering the fact that they play in small markets, and the guys that they have, they're probably not going to be able to retain. They're not going to be able to get those guys re-signed, neither one of them. There's some other players as well that I think fit this build. They're just not in my head right now, but if they come around, I might make a video and talk about that as well. But so let me just throw a name out there before we end this video. Let's just throw a team out there for each of these guys that I think they would fit on. Guy like Lauri Markkanen, I don't think there's too many teams he doesn't fit on, to be honest. I would love to see him in Phoenix. I would like to see him in Phoenix. He could stretch the floor, be offset what DeAndre Ayton does, can be the recipient of a whole lot of what Chris Paul does, another shooter to open up this floor for a guy like Booker. This is a really nice spot for him. I know they have some power forwards they like. I'm not saying they need a power forward necessarily, but I just think of who can give you that good high-low action. That would be a good spot for him. Milwaukee's a good spot for Lauri Markkanen. Anywhere where you need shooters to kind of stretch the floor. Anywhere that needs that. Dallas is a place I think would be good for Markkanen, even though they got enough guys in the paint that don't bang, and they probably could use a little more physicality in the paint. But when you talk about Dallas and shooting, I mean, it goes hand in hand. I thought that was probably a good spot for him on draft night. I don't remember, but that was one of the places I said if I could see marketing anywhere, it'd be Dallas. So many other teams, man, anywhere that needs shooters. And as far as Karl Towns, well, anywhere that needs a center. The first team that comes to mind for me is Clippers. They need Karl Towns, just like they need a point guard. They definitely need a center. I like Zubats, though. Zubats is in shape. He's moving faster than I've ever seen him move. He's playing great. So I don't want to take nothing from Zubats, but I'm not relying upon Zubats. This is somebody who really likes him, somebody who's on his team who hates the fact that we traded him from the Lakers. I don't want to rely on him as my starting center going up against Anthony Davis and Jokic and Embiid. No. You want Karl Towns in L.A. Another place I could definitely see him thriving in is Toronto. Toronto would be a good spot for Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know what they would have to give up to get him. I'm just saying it would be a great place. They need a center. Boston, of course. Boston would be a great spot for Karl. There's a lot of spots that Karl can go to. He's a superstar youngster 7-footer who could shoot. It would be about more so what he wants than who needs him. If he wants to go here, that's where he'll find himself. Even though it doesn't fit in the cap, I would love to see him play for the Nets. I think that would be a wonderful fit for him, obviously. I mean, Jesus Christ, obviously, right? That's not possible, but it would be a good spot. The Lakers, same thing, not possible, but a good spot. Although, I thought about this last night. If it were possible, I do think he would take a little more away from Anthony Davis than we would want. Not possible. Just imagine there was no salary cap. Just thinking about fits. Of course, you would love to have Karl Anthony Towns, but I do think he would play a little more perimeter than we would want him to on this team, playing with AD. But boy, nobody would get in the paint. You would have no one would get in the paint, and no one would stop us. We'd win every game, and it would just be championships galore. We'd win probably like 6 championships in a row if we were to add Karl Towns and lose nothing. That's not fair. So yeah, those are a couple of teams. I didn't got to run down the entire list, but both of those guys have a fair amount of suitors, and they would change lives for bad teams too. You talk about like both of them. If either one of them went to Washington, change life for Washington immediately. I don't think Washington needs another stretch 4, but if they could get a Karl Towns, it would change the world. So those are the type of things. If you get creative, the Pelicans. The Pelicans is a great spot for Karl Anthony Towns, low key. One of the problems the Pelicans have right now is they have horrible spacing, but they do believe in size. So the best thing for the Pelicans to try to do is try to get a stretch 5. A stretch 5, because you got situations where the spacing is so horrible on that team, but they have a lot of talent. So that would be, what an amazing spot for Karl Anthony Towns to go to play off of Zion Williamson, have Lonzo Ball being in the recipient of his passes, and have Brandon Ingram on the side doing all this great stuff that BI does. They would immediately become contenders if they were able to get Karl Towns without losing anything. So obviously none of this is possible. I kind of hate the salary cap because of it, to be completely honest with you. I would love to see a bit more flexibility in regards to guys just going places they want to go just because they fit. But unfortunately, this is a game of money, and the money has to add up. So anyway, that's all I'm going to give you guys. Thank you guys for watching. My name is BDF44. I'm out.